So one of the pieces that I like to talk about early on is, well, what is sex addiction and why does it occur? And so I really love Alex Katehakis's book, Sex Addiction as Affect Dysregulation. I believe that was her PhD thesis that was then transformed into a book. I think, Alex, if I'm wrong, I apologize. But it's this whole premise of sex addicts, and we find this a lot, that sex addicts, when we get the addiction in remission, there's something else underneath. There is a generalized anxiety, or there is generalized depression, or a combination of both. But there is basically that. But there's this theory, which I adhere to, that sex addicts use sex or sexual material or sexual fantasy as a way to calm themselves down, to be able to somehow work with very unregulated, out of control feelings. So as difficult as it may be to ask somebody, hey, we're going to take away your best friend, your best coping mechanism, and allow all those feelings to come to the surface, because that's the root. That's what we really want to be working on. It for a lot of people is a very tall order, but I think it's really necessary. And so I think when I'm able to explain this to the partner of, this is the goal. The goal is not to take away your connection or to take away things that make you feel safe. It's the opposite. I want to make you more safe by getting to the main cause of what's causing the addiction.
Dan, I want to come back to you on what you said about celibacy. The way that I use the abstinence contract, it is the abstaining from all sexual contact. So that includes partners, as well as any material experience that creates sexual energy, because I want the person to have a better understanding of their natural body responses, and then to create some mastery and skill to manage that. So I would call that abstinence contract. What you just talked about was celibacy, where celibacy is the complete removal of all sexual, kind of similar to what I just said for abstinence. But you talked about abstaining from sexual behavior, but being sexual in relationship. And so I'm like, yes, that is, in my mind, the definition of abstaining is not engaging in a certain behavior. But when I'm working as a sex addiction therapist in the abstinence contract, I want them to abstain from all sexuality. Are you saying you do it differently?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
But yes, and no, and
oh, a good clear answer, huh?
Yeah, right. You like that? Yeah, there are situations. What do I do? Let's say I'm working with someone who is an addict and their partner is not on board with not being sexual. Now what? That's not, so can we still move forward? Can they still learn new coping strategies if their partner doesn't feel safe or comfortable? That's where I was bringing that up. I think there is a world where if now I can either talk to the partner's therapist, or if I can talk to the partner directly and I can explain why I'm doing this for the reasons you both said. But there are situations where I don't have partners on board. So now what? I think I could still have, I'm thinking that I can still have abstinence, I think, even if it's not a complete removal of all behaviors, I think.
Okay, so you were using the scenario where the betrayed partner is not on board with this intervention.
Yeah.
We could say. Okay.
But I think also Sex Addicts Anonymous uses a 3-circle plan, right? As we know, and someone can have abstinence from problematic behaviors, but that abstinence may not be utter complete abstinence of sexuality. They're abstaining from problematic behaviors. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe it's just semantics, but mm-hmm. I think the way I would define abstinence could involve other behaviors, I think.
Mhm,
I'm abstaining from problematic behaviors. I might not be abstaining from all behaviors.
mhm. So I
That
guess
said, the abstinence period that's
Mhm.
or a contract that we're talking about, I do think is more of a discrete time period where usually early on when someone comes in, we're kind of helping them reboot their system. So I do think if I'm an alcoholic and I'm, moved from vodka to beer, now I'm just drinking beer or something, like that's not gonna help my system out any. So we understand there's a period of removal. Ultimately, hopefully the goal, which is different from chemicals as we know, and we talked about this in another podcast, is changing our relationship with sexuality. So building in healthy sexuality. That's our goal. So I don't know how you kind of like a food fast, how do you build back your system in healthy ways if you don't kind of start from a cleanse to begin with?